If this is your first time here, don't forget to please press the subscribe button and press the little bell to receive notifications when we upload. You can now become a member of the FM Scout YouTube channel. Simply press the join button and you'll be given 5 different tiers to choose from. We also have a Discord channel, so if you do like talking about Football Manager, just go to www.discord.gg/FM Scout. The link is in the description.
Hello there viewers, and welcome to another video here on FM Scout by myself, Omega Luke. Today we're going to look at potentially the 10 best free agents that will be available when the new Football Manager 2020 comes around in about a month's time. So what we're going to do, there's going to be plenty. There's going to be a lot more than what I think has been in recent years that potentially may be usable for teams in and around the Premier League, maybe the Championship sort of standard. But I'm going to go through 10 of probably the most famous and most popular that may be the ones to pick up when the new game comes around. Obviously, this is all going to be based on last year's stats because we don't have the new stats as of yet. This is more of a prediction as to what are going to be the best players coming up. So we're going to start off here on the page of Younes Kaboul. And obviously, Younes Kaboul has been a Premier League player for some time. Very good technicals and mental stats. Coming to the end of his career now, 33 years of age he will be when the new game comes around, and as you can see from last year's game, he's already started to lose a lot of pace and fitness. But if you ask me, that would be a very good signing for like a Championship side as a backup, maybe even a lower Premier League team. So Younes Kaboul expected to have very similar stats on FM20. Another one of these Football Manager legends, really, because Ignacio Battier has been around the block for a while. And in Football Manager terms, one of those players that everyone always used to sign. And this year, he is going to be a free agent. AC Milan has released him, I do believe. And Ignacio Battier has had very good stats, a very pacey fullback on the right-hand side there. An Italian fullback who may be someone who you will look at for a Premier League side. As you can see by his stats here, not bad if you ask me. And if you're going to go by what he will be like in this year's game with an extra year onto his age, at 32, I couldn't imagine his physicals would drop off that much. He is known for his pace. And I would say that Ignacio Battier would be someone who you need to look straight away if you're doing your saves, whether he will be useful for you, because I think he might be. On the other side, however, on the left-hand side, we have Fabio Coentrao. He has been at Real Madrid, Sporting Lisbon, AS Monaco. He has been around the European giants, and this year he will be a free agent. A very good Portuguese left back in his day. A couple of years ago, he is one of the players who you would go for at any of the big sides if you needed a left back. This year, however, on FM19, his stats started to decline a little bit. He is at Rio Ave here in the 19.3 edition. But next year, will we see a massive drop off in physicals which will make him untouchable? Will we see a very similar to this? Because if you ask me, I would sign this guy if he was a free agent and I was moping around the Premier League as a backup, definitely, because he has outstanding technicals, fairly good mental attributes, nice size, 5'10", has very good coverage around the pitch, and you could definitely deal with those physicals. So Fabio Coentrao is someone you need to look out for when the new game comes around as well. Now, a few years ago, Josh McCarran was one of those names who we all tipped to be the next big thing, a wonder kid coming through the Chelsea academy. However, he went out on loan a few times to lower league sides and even abroad to Vitesse, and never really reached his potential. However, this year he has been released by Chelsea, and you don't know, maybe if you're a Championship side or even a League One side, you'd be able to pick up Josh McCarran, and I don't know why you wouldn't. As you can see by his stats in the latest game, quite good technicals, fairly good physicals, fairly good mentals. His physicals are very lapsed, but he's going to be 26 years of age. You would say that would be the prime of his career. and maybe his physicals will be slightly better than what they are here. Nothing promising though, but definitely worth a look when you start your save to see if Josh McCarran is useful for you if you're in the lower leagues. Now back in FM11 or 12, Lorenzo Insigne was one of the guys who you would pick up right at the beginning of every one of your saves because he was an outstanding defensive midfielder for a very young age and quite a reasonable price from Inter Milan. His progress has not been amazing, however he's still a fairly good player on last year's game, but this year on FM20 you will find him as a free agent as well. So it's worth having a look to see whether he has kept these stats, because fairly good stats if you ask me for a lower end of the Premier League, maybe even on the Championship side of things. If you could pick him up, if the wages aren't too much, might be worth picking him up, to be honest. He will be 26 years of age, still in his prime. You'll still be able to use him for a good 5 years before he starts dropping off. At 6 foot, fairly good coverage in the centre midfield area, if you ask me. So Lorenzo Insigne, maybe have a look for him as well. Pavel Mamaev is a Russian who has had a fairly big career, to be honest. He's played for some of the biggest clubs in Russia and very good coverage across the midfield area. He has solid stats all round, a bit of an all-rounder, and even his physicals have started to hold up in the last year's game. But he will be a free agent in the new game, and I think he's definitely worth having a look at to see whether he suits your club. He'll be 30 years of age. The only thing you need to worry about is his wages, because obviously in Russia they have a lot of money. They will pay a lot of wages. He'll be used to having big wages. So whether that will be a concern in the new game, whether he'll be happy to settle for a lot less. But Pavel Mamaev may be someone you look at in the future to bolster your midfield. But for years now, Hatem Ben Arfa was a very hit and miss player. We've seen him when he was in the Premier League with Newcastle become an amazing player. The potential he had when all the way back when he was at Olympique Marseille, I do believe, was outstanding as a youngster. But now he's coming to the end of his career. He had a spell at Paris Saint-Germain where his stats weren't that bad a couple of years ago on FM. But now, after being released by Rennes at the end of last season, it is sort of a mystery as to what Football Manager will perceive Ben Arfa to be like in this new iteration of Football Manager. Never had the greatest of mentals. He always has solid technical ability with great dribbling and normally a bit of a flair player, as you can see by the stats of last year's game. His physicals have held out here, but on the new game he will be 32 years of age, so he won't have a long stint for you if you do sign him, but you never know, it might be someone who you pick up and give you that extra bit of flair going forward in your attacking game. A very similar thing can be said in Jeremy Menez, another player from France who can play across that attacking midfielder role as well as up front. He won quite a lot of things at Paris Saint-Germain, and I remember picking him up myself a few times on a few iterations of Football Manager in the past. However, he has gone to Mexico in the last year's game and has now been released. So Jeremy Menez will be 32 years of age, very similar to Ben Arfa. It'll be interesting to see whether they will keep the same sort of technical abilities, because I don't think his physicals will drop off that much. He's always been solid in the physicals. It's whether his technical ability will stay the same, because if it's like a player like that, then I could see him being picked up by quite a lot of people and being one of those guys who you go to at the start of your save if you're not one of the big European giants. So Jeremy Menez, fairly good player. Keep an eye out for that one. Now, a few years ago, Wilfried Bony was tearing it up in the Premier League, even signing for Manchester City for an extraordinary amount of money. And now, it's a sad thing to say, but he has left Swansea when they got relegated, and he went to Qatar, of all places, for the money more than anything. He has now been released though, however, and he will be the age of 30. And whether he will keep the same sort of clinical finishing stats that he had in previous games, he was also a bit of a beast, a very strong player, which we do see here on this year's iteration of the game. Whether we will see that in next year's is still to be desired. But unfortunately, his physicals here have been massively affected. Natural fitness of 4 is not going to get you very far. Acceleration and pace, not too bad when you consider he could be more of a target man player and hold up the ball if you had a pacey striker alongside him. That can be sort of useful to you still. But with a natural fitness of 4, it looks like he's just going to be a substitute. So whether Wilfried Bony is usable or not in the new game is still going to be decided when we see his stats in the future. But I'm optimistic. I think Wilfried Bony could be one of those players who you may sign if you are desperate for a striker, and it could be one of those, you just don't know, who turns out to just score loads of goals. But finally, probably one of the biggest names on this list, and 10th place, is Claudio Marchisio. He has had an outstanding career in Italy for Juventus. Of course, he's played plenty of internationals as well for Italy. And last year we see him go to Zenit St. Petersburg. This year, however, he has been released. So it used to be class as a world-class midfielder in a few years ago on FM. But now we're going to see him in a very different state. He's going to be a free agent. Whether he will have slightly better physicals than this or very similar physicals to this from FM19, we'll soon find out, I guess. But if you look at the technicals, look at the mentals, he's a very good player. Experienced midfielder. If his physicals hold out, he will be the one that everyone will go to when they first start the game to sign if you have a very low budget, because he could very much change your season. He could be the playmaker that you are needing, the holding midfielder that you are needing. So Claudio Marchisio, let's see if we can hang our hat on this name, whether he will be the go-to free agent of FM20. So let me know down in the comments below who you think will be the go-to free agent of Football Manager 20. Maybe it's someone from this list. Maybe it's someone who I have missed out. If I have, I'm sorry, but let me know down in the comments who you potentially think that could be. And if it's more Football Manager content that you wish to see, I'm coming to an end on my Eintracht Frankfurt save now on Football Manager 19, leading in to the new game. You can follow me at my new journey, whatever team I choose to be, which I haven't revealed yet, and subscribe to the Omega Luke Gaming channel for plenty more action on there. But stay tuned on FM Scout for more reviews of Football Manager 20, and of course, plenty more content when the new game comes out. I'll see you then.